Hi! Welcome to Surviving Schizophrenia with Steven. My name is Steven. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I want to talk to you a little bit today about what depression feels like to me. Now, I've been struggling with depression for about 10 years now, since 2012, when I was 12 years old, and that's when I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now, before then, I was a very social kid, very happy kid as well. I was participating in junior lifeguards and was on the swim team, Boy Scouts, and Taekwondo. I made black belt even. And like I said, I had a lot of friends and hung out with them all the time. I was not on any kind of medication, nor did I have depression or anxiety. And yeah, I want to tell you a little more about what I did before so you have a better understanding of just what changed. Now, I'll start with Boy Scouts. Now, actually, even before Boy Scouts, I was in Cub Scouts. And I remember going on a 50-mile bike ride. I was still in Cub Scouts actually, but I did this with the Boy Scouts. And I remember I did 50 miles. I actually was there with someone I knew from school. And we got to the halfway mark and he was like, "Okay, you wanna turn back?" And I was like, "No, we got this." Yeah, I did 50 miles and actually later on I ended up doing that 2 more times when I was actually part of the Boy Scouts. I would go on camping trips like Joshua Tree or Emerald Bay Catalina Island, which is not that far from where I live actually. And those were great trips. I had a lot of fun then and really no anxiety because of any of that. And I was also on the swim team for a while. I had to stop that when I felt ill, but that was also amazing and fun. I remember training for a while, and eventually I did my first swim meet. Sadly, that was the only swim meet I ended up doing. And if you're not familiar, a swim meet is just the competition. And I believe it was, I was best at breaststroke and freestyle. And I remember, I think it was freestyle I got first out of my category, because they put you in categories with different skill levels. And I believe I got third in breaststroke, which was amazing and so much fun. And so at the time, I must have been 10 or 11. So this was definitely before I fell ill. I was also in junior lifeguards, or JGs as we call it. I did that for a few good summers, and I remember even before you had to pass a very rigorous swim test. I was a good swimmer, always have been. Have a pool in our backyard, right over there even. You can't see it, but it's right there. Yeah, so I passed that test and took part in junior lifeguards at Torrance Beach, which was fun, but it's training. It's training to be a lifeguard, You do all sorts of stuff from mock saving people, like one of you swims out, like way out, as far out as pretty much you can go, tread water, and one of us has to go pretend to save them. Do all that. Everything from just actual exercise and swimming laps around the buoy and doing what they called rock runs. Not sure if other beaches really did this as much, but for us that was where you run down to the end of the beach where there's tons of rocks, pick up the biggest rock you can find and run it back and forth. Which sounds horrible and not fun, but I enjoyed it and we all did. We're all kind of like community camaraderie kind of thing. And I was also in Taekwondo. Now that was a good, I think I started in like 1st or 2nd grade. So this was a long while before, but it was great. I enjoyed it a lot. Again, I was very social there with everyone, all the kids there as well. I remember doing all kinds of things from learning how to spar, but also how to literally break wood with your hands, which is really cool to do. And I did that up until I made black belt. Actually, I can show you that. It's right here. This, I don't know if I can show you this too well, but let's see. This is my black belt. from, I think that's the right way to say it, Master Choi, and that was amazing too. And I was in great shape at the time throughout all of these activities, something that has suffered greatly since I fell ill. When you are depressed as well, you don't usually take as good care of yourself. Not because you don't want to, just because it might not even be something that comes across your mind. It's like, mentally at least, that's the least of your worries. Why should I do this? That's the way I felt at least. And as well as all these activities I was doing, I had a lot of friends. Since preschool actually, I had my buddies in preschool. There were 4 of us. Yeah, 4 of us. And we hung out all the time since preschool. Up until actually really just before I fell ill. Not until I fell ill rather, not before. And I had other friends from school and the activities I was in, I had other friends there as well. No stress being around them, no anxiety like that. That I've since experienced since the onset of my schizophrenia, which now I do have a lot of anxiety around other people. And I had my cousins as well. My family and I are very close, both my mom's side and my dad's side. My mom's side are literally closer, so I spent more time with them as they're just more local. And, you know, we would see my family like once or twice a week, especially my cousins who are roughly my age. And I love that. That was amazing. And actually, it's one of the things that stuck with me throughout my illness, is that I always wanted to be with family. Didn't mean I had no stress around them. When I felt ill, I did. I had a lot of stress around them. But that's something that always stuck with me, and I know that helped me a lot because through my anxiety, my depression, and my schizophrenia, I don't, and didn't, especially for a long time, and even now don't always want to be around people. But with family, it's just different for me. Let me tell you a little bit about the onset of my schizophrenia. It was very sudden, maybe over the course of a few months. And from what I do remember, because it was very traumatic for me, and I believe that's a large reason of why I don't remember it, as well as the fact that, I just wasn't well. But I remember it started with headaches, debilitating headaches, that would come and go seemingly randomly, but were there for most times. I do remember lying in the nurse's office at school for hours on end, just in pain. I know from what I've heard from my parents is that my personality began to change as well. I remember writing down everything I didn't want to forget on paper one time in school, because I felt, and I guess I even told this to some of my classmates at the time, that I was losing my mind. And when I was writing that down, I remember repeating everyone and everything I did not want to forget. And I will never forget the look of horror on my teacher's face when she saw what I was writing repeatedly. And she did what she could do, the best thing she could do, which was send me to the principal's office, and they called my parents or something. I don't remember how that ended. I also remember turning one point during class to one of my classmates who I'd known for at least a good few years by that point, and asking who he was and where I was. And if I remember, I kind of knew what was happening, but not really at the same time. And I remember him just laughing like, yeah, you're joking, right? That's funny. I even remember, this is back to the headaches, but I went to the hospital at one point, urgent care, or emergency room rather, and they gave me morphine. What else were they gonna do? I had headaches, right? Can't figure it out, try to get rid of the pain, right? And it didn't get rid of the pain. And it was mental pain. They didn't know that, obviously. But yeah, I remember just suffering with horrible headaches as it began. And with time, I grew to be very depressed and anxious, and my anxiety just kept rising. And I remember, well, I stopped going to school, really, for a while. And I remember, because it was too stressful for me to do anything like that. I remember staying up until like 3 a.m. most nights because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't rest. I was tired, but not tired like sleep tired, just worn out. I think that's due to the depression and the anxiety, as well as my psychosis, which I was psychotic at the time. I remember just staying up, reading books, and playing Pocket Minecraft on my phone. Incredibly stressed out, very depressed, and not realizing it, and not knowing why. All of this took place over a few short months. And it ended up, well, a few short months I should say, in early 2012. And it really ended with my hospitalization at UCLA Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital. I believe it was in May of that year. And I was not well at that time. I do remember that hospital experience fairly well. I had a roommate. I don't remember his name rather. I do remember when I got there, he was a little upset with me because he wanted to sneak out to meet the girl down the hall. That would never worked out anyway, but that was his plan. The people there were amazing. Even though I was really unwell and psychotic, the doctors and the nurses there were so great. They helped me so much. The other patients, I guess they're patients, they were also some of the nicest people I've ever met. Even though that was probably the most stressful time/event of my life, it's also, in a weird way, one of my fondest memories at the same time. A lot happened there, and by the time it was over, I was way healthier than I was before. I remember they did all sorts of tests on me, MRI with contrast, which I forget exactly what that is now, but basically it helps them see stuff in your body better. And MRIs I kind of like them actually. They're a little fun, I think, because everything's like boop, 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 boop. Making these weird noises as it scans you. It kind of feels like you're in a spaceship, and I thought that was fun. Actually at the hospital we did all sorts of activities as a group together, everything from group therapy to going up, I think it was kind of on the roof, like enclosed, where that was like our outdoor area. I played ping pong there, and I actually enjoyed it so much we got a table here when I got back. I remember we went to the kitchens and we'd make pizza, and just some activities to get us doing stuff. Arts and crafts, and remember the arts and crafts place, they'd have us play our favorite music. I was maybe too stressed at the time to really say that I liked any kind of music, I don't know. So I didn't really play anything of mine, but the nurses there would play their favorite music, and everyone else is there as well. Yeah, that was my hospital experience pretty much. And before I left, a few days before I left, my first roommate, when he left, I got a second one, gave me a friendship bracelet, which was really cool of him, that he made for me there. I don't really think I got to say goodbye really. He went too early, but left too early. But I have that still to this day to remember him, and my time there as well. So that was the onset of my schizophrenia. It occurred very rapidly and very suddenly over the course of a few months. And yeah, one of the hardest parts of, at least for me, living with schizophrenia is the depression. Once my psychosis did break, I realized shortly after that how ill I actually was and am. And that was incredibly hard for me. Also realizing everything I'd lost. And all of that hit me, like, fast. And when I finally when I realized that I would just cry. And it reduced me to nothing for a long while. And I just wanted to crawl into a little ball, stay there forever. Sometimes I still feel like that. I remember one of the only things I really did during that time was play video games, because that gave me an escape. I could, I didn't have schizophrenia in these games. I could build the greatest city in the world and have my people love me and treat them well and stuff, grow the city bigger than anything before, or I could lead a civilization to greatness, right? I could be the hero of the world and stop the dragons from invading the land. And that helped, but I wasn't dealing so much with my depression with that. It would just help me putting it at bay. And sometime later, when I finally had to go back to school, I went to a school called Beach Cities Learning Center, not too far from, funnily enough, it was almost directly behind my old school. Just kind of weird how that happened. And I remember I'd get up there some days, and we'd drive right back. I couldn't handle the anxiety, the stress, the depression. I remember the counselor, I don't know if she was also a teacher there, but she'd come out to the car a few times when I was there, and I'd just be crying like I have schizophrenia. My life can't get any worse like that. And those were hard times for me. And like I said, to this day I still deal with depression and anxiety. But it's gotten a lot better. A lot better. As I've grown and gotten healthier and recovered more. As I've learned to accept the fact that I have schizophrenia. Kind of own it, I guess, with this YouTube channel. And since this YouTube channel, I've gotten a lot better. I feel a lot healthier. And that was not the case for a very long time. Very long time. And through all this, I don't actually know, it's just... Stop for a second. Alright, so I had lost train of thought for a sec. But I got it back now. Depression, it just zaps you. It zaps you from any kind of energy, for both mentally and physically. It keeps you from feeling truly happy even when you think you should be. And sometimes when I am at my happiest, I also think, why? I'm so used to being sad. Why am I feeling happy? Which is a weird feeling. And also not good, and I'm working on that part because I am happy sometimes now. So it's something I'm moving on with. And for a very long time as well, I was suicidal. I remember thinking that, if my life keeps staying this way for this much longer or gets any worse, but this was back in like 2012, 2013, I might just end it. I don't live that far from some cliffs. It wouldn't have been hard for me to end my life. I had nothing to live for, I thought at the time. But you know what? I'm very happy I didn't. Life is worth living. Even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Life is worth living. Because you never know what will happen in the future. If you had told me back in 2012, in about a decade, you're going to be a lot better, you're going to feel a lot healthier, you're going to have an amazing YouTube channel, and your life will be back on track in a different way, I wouldn't have believed you. But you know what? Here we are. And that's the case. So I'm just very happy I didn't, end everything. Because had I seen the rest of my life then, if I did end my life, for example, I would have regretted it. I would have missed out on all of this. And you only live once, really. So, I don't know, I'm just happy I didn't end everything. And my life is so much better now. Largely due to all of you watching and your support that you've given me. It's helped so very much. You can look at my early videos and I was not doing well. And sure, some days I still don't do well now. But it's way better than it was then. So, yeah. Depression is a constant in my life, but it is getting better as my life continues to get better and as I recover more. And I know in the future, might be a little ways off still, I'll be able to actually interact with people without feeling as much anxiety again. And I'll be able to move forward and not let the depression bog me down. And I won't be the same as I was before. And what I thought would happen with my life back then will not come to pass. But it could be better. I'm excited to see where my life leads me. With that, I hope you have a happy and healthy rest of your day. And I hope to see you all in the next video.